Hello, my name is Kevin,
Sam?
and this is a Life Happens podcast. And today we'll be talking about
Not knowing what you want to do with your life.
fun stuff.
Great times. Not great times.
You want to start off?
Yeah, Hopkins is like a majority pre-med, 40-50% pre-med.
Right. If you don't know who we are, if you haven't watched our stuff, we're we come from Hopkins, not but
Hopkins,
yeah. So we used to be undergraduates at Hopkins, and yeah. So
I'm a sophomore. He's technically a senior, but he graduated junior year. You're doing research and working.
Right. So then I guess a little bit about the culture around Hopkins. It's literally that. I mean, there's just a bunch of pre-meds and a bunch of people that already kind of want to take in that medical profession route and become a doctor. And to be honest with you, I was one of them. Sam was a different breed, but then
humanities.
But then basically, I guess to start off with me, I guess when I was young, I always knew I wanted to be a physician. I always asked myself this. That I always thought that my parents kind of indirectly kind of led me into medicine. But then my parents always told me that they've never really pressured me to do anything. But then because they're both in the science field, both of my parents are clinical lab scientists. So they basically do let's say this patient needs to get needs to be tested whether there's gram negative or gram positive bacteria in their body from a sample. They'll be able to do that test. So they kind of run a lot of tests for patients, for physicians. And basically, because of their heavy science background, I kind of got
steered.
Yeah. So then because I was my parents were exposed to a lot of those things, I was also exposed to a lot of those things, and then me being wanting to desire to take on that profession, at least initially, very superficially. And I guess that's always been what I want to do. I kind of play around with stuff with oh, I really like Iron Chef. I kind of wanted to be
Kevin Ray is the chef.
I wanted to be Bobby Flay and whatnot.
That's so
lit. I mean, the thing is
cool.
It's still a thing. I think whenever I retire, if I do get into med school and whatnot, and after that actually doing the work and then retiring, I do kind of want to do that chef's table thing where I'll be one of those
chef's table's so good.
Right, be one of those kind of under very sly chefs that not a lot of people know. But I'm known for good cooking along within a small community.
A hole in the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Hole in the wall, good
caters
spots.
to caters to a certain group. And
yeah, I think I definitely I'm very much a family man. So I wanna have my mom and my dad and my family sitting at a dinner table and just have conversations, eating good food, having good conversations, even better conversations, right? But along with that, I also if I have the time available, I want to be able to create opportunities for friends that I have and kind of mix the circles that I have in my life and kind of bringing them together if I can and helping them create relationships and really bond during that time and using food as a medium through that. I think that's something that's very, very meaningful that I would want to partake in. But that's far in the future.
Right.
I guess I kind of digressed a little bit, but then basically I kind of already knew what I wanted to do in my life. And I know this podcast is kind of about
know what you don't when you don't know what you want to do.
Right, and I guess maybe you can speak on a little bit. And I can kind of chime in on my own too.
Yeah, no. So I'm not pre-med. Pre-meds have a very set path from day one.
Right.
I feel from freshman fall all the way to senior spring and beyond. I'm economics and international studies. I came in. Fun fact: I actually came in as a computer engineering major. But then I applied to Hopkins Computer Engineering, got in computer engineering, and then I switched over this summer. And you can do that at Hopkins because what's really nice is you can just switch between majors and switch between the engineering school and the arts and sciences school. Some big school, except for BME, but that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah.
But that's nice because at state schools, sometimes you're locked into certain departments.
You're really cuffed.
Yeah. So I switched to economics and international studies because I decided I wanted to actually pursue and study what I was interested in. I think freshman year I thought a lot about doing finance just because a lot of my peers around me in economics want to do finance. I was like, well, this is cool, make a lot of money and everything. But I kind of decided I don't want to do that. So now I'm more looking into economic development.
Mm.
But at the same time, what I don't like, the field itself, I'm not going to elaborate on the field itself because I'm not here to talk about economic development. You know,
right.
I'll probably bore most people. But the feeling of like not fully, the feeling of having to like carve your own path to an extent, is a little bit scary. I'll admit. Like sometimes I'm jealous of pre-miss because I feel like you guys know exactly what you need to do. You know, like take org over the summer, do research, do this, do that, and there's especially at Hopkins, there's just set path for doing it.
Right,
for me, it's like next summer, like I don't want to go to corporate just yet. I don't want to get like your classic like finance or consulting internships. I do want to work and make money right after graduation, but I still want to pursue like I'm trying to pursue like being a research assistant for like a economic development team overseas for the summer. I was actually at a Skype call talking to a postdoc about that today. But just it requires a lot of like there's a lot of uncertainty. There's just like a lot of looking, and how I cope with that. I mean, there's no real way to cope with that. Other than like convincing myself like this is the right thing to do in terms of like I'm doing this because I like believe in this and this is really interesting to me. I'm not just doing this because everyone else is doing this and I'm drawn to the prestige. I feel like there's criteria of if you're doing anything in life for its prestige and its money and its and like because everyone around you is doing it, like it's not a good idea. I feel like finance, especially, it's easy to get drawn in. It's easy to get drawn and fixated on something just because everyone around you is doing it. Like pre-med, I think it's so much easier because you know, like the end goal is you're gonna help people. You know, and so it's fulfillment while at the same time drive.
You know? And I guess like here's like my little twist on it. So then like how I respond to that is that like I think right when I graduated, I was pretty, like, of course, I was very happy that I was able to be fortunate enough to graduate early and whatnot. But then I had, like, but I also had, like, the feeling that, I think especially, like, right when I got into Hopkins from high school, like, life kind of flashed before my eyes. I was like, oh, shoot, now I gotta worry about doing well in undergrad and to do well in the MCAT and to do well in, like, applications, and I still got residency, and then actually no, most of like the actual med school, and then residency, and then fellowship, and then I get paid. It's like, oh man, like I'm just like thinking about like how daunting,
so long term.
Yeah, and then crazy. Like I think like right when I graduated, especially because I have a bio major and like a psych minor, I'm literally cuffed in this career.
There's no going back. Honestly, I mean,
I have like some flexibility. I can possibly do research, but I cannot. Research is very impactful, but I cannot do that for the rest of my life.
If you were to just decide, like, right now, like, I don't want to be med school, I don't want to be a doctor, where else could you go right now?
Right? I mean, like...
That's scary.
I mean, like, the thing is, like, I do research, and it's, like, academia, but I wouldn't make a lot of money. And the thing is that, too, like, I think you can go in and get into industry, but then a lot of times now, so it's, like, the requirements are getting higher and higher, that sometimes, like, an entry-level job would require you to have a PhD. And it's just like, do I want to commit 5 years of like pipetting and whatnot, and like wet lab work to like get like PhD. Probably, I mean, like industry makes a decent amount of money, but it's like 70 or 80K. And if I want to live in like California,
well, that's not much at all.
That's like, I'm gonna be one of those like affordable, like required low income like housing.
You're sharing a room with like 5 guys.
Yeah, maybe. And it's just like, I don't know if I want to live that lifestyle. So it's like sometimes I get kind of scared. So like I have to ask myself sometimes too, is it really worth like doing this?
In?
Right. And then I guess like to get back onto like the idea that you said about like you don't feel like it's really good for you to do if you solely relying on like because of social pressure to do this or like because of the money and whatnot. I actually also very much like agree with that. And at least for me, in my own like path with medicine, like whenever these things happen, I always have to ask myself, what do I find meaning in life? And like as much as like I think the monetary aspect, like physicians, they do make a good amount of money.
They do.
But at least in my opinion, I don't need to be like filthy rich. At least for me, how I think about money is that it's really a means for you to have opportunities.
It's true. And you know, just live your life. Really.
Exactly. And like sometimes those like a way to live your life is you need to have the monetary like I guess like financial freedom to be able to have those things. If I want to travel the world, if I even just want to go to a day trip to like Yosemite Park, I need a car, I need gas, I need money to like for food and like whatnot.
Health
insurance.
I had a conversation like really relevant to what you're talking about today. I FaceTimed my cousin to say hi and checking up on her and just catching up.
That's nice.
And so she graduated last year. She's right now her first year. She's working at Fidelity.
That's amazing.
Investments firm. She's making very good money, like very good.
Can't imagine. Yeah.
But also she's like, what had happened is she was actually thinking about joining Teach for America after college.
Okay.
So she had applied, but then she didn't get in. So instead she decided to just go to Fidelity. Just go to Fidelity. Just make a lot of money. But and she was like, at the time she was really sad about it. She was like, I'd much rather like teach and do something meaningful than like just commit my time, my life to like making the rich richer, you know. She felt like there was a lot more meaning behind like teaching kids in underserved areas than just like working. But she was telling me like, honestly, like I'm really glad that it worked out this way, because while yes, the work may be more meaningful, getting paid $30,000 as a teacher, especially when she would just like
a year.
There is so much value in financial stability and in paying off your debts and in being like stable, right?
Right.
Not being. And she was like, yeah, if I was doing Teach for America, I'd probably have to reach out and get like external sources of income from like family or just like ask for loans or something.
Yeah.
$30,000 a year is nothing. It's really a pittance. And yeah, she's just saying like it's just a lot more comfortable now. And yeah, definitely like she's satisfied. No, she's definitely gonna like later look for more like things that give her more satisfaction. Yes. But in the meantime, she was like, yeah, like if I was a Teach for America right now, like I wouldn't be able to eat what I wanted and I wouldn't be able to do what I wanted, you know. Her right now, she's having a pretty good time in Boston. You know, she's like exploring the city, checking out restaurants, things like that. Like, and financial stability and freedom really affords you that
flexibility. You know? Yeah. I guess to like add on to that too, actually. People like hype up, like, I mean, a lot of our time is like meant for education so that you're able to get into this job and whatnot. And like a job like is very important. It's like a big aspect of our life. We spend a lot of time in our jobs, right? But also along with that, there's also a lot of things we could do outside of that. So like as much as like you may not really have like to find like a living doing the thing that you would want through your job, you can also find like fulfillment in other things per se. If you really like working with the homeless, you can always volunteer and find fulfillment with that, while per se like, you know, on the side like making, like you said, like working Fidelity, making the rich richer. You know, like you can always do like there's always other I guess routes that you could take to find fulfillment in life. I think like there's like this idea, this like topic, or I mean, kind of this term called yappies. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh yeah, young Asian professionals.
So young Asian professionals, and they kind of have this like quarter life crisis, just because they'll have a thing where they would like go to undergrad for 4 years, and afterwards they'll become an engineer, become like a CS major, and like straight away make
get that
a good amount of money.
And they're like, wait, is this it?
Yeah, is that the end goal? And then in my opinion, you hit it big. Like you're making like probably like $100,000 or like $90,000, like a decent amount of money starting, right? But also along with that, you like, I mean, like the thing is like within the Asian culture, it's like always about that education to get a job.
So much, yeah.
Right, but then like the thing I think that they fail to realize sometimes is that there's also other aspects of the world and like things you could do outside of just your job.
Yeah, and not just that, like also recognizing that that won't keep you happy for not even for, I won't say forever, that won't keep you happy for even a couple of years. I think as long as you're doing things out of external motivations, like your parents or your culture, you feel like because of the people around you, you have to do it.
Right.
As soon as you're out of that environment, you're gonna collapse. Which is why I think like with everything you do, honestly, whether it be like people crap on finance a lot, I don't think that's not right. Like it's still like sure, like you can make arguments for how like useful it is, but the fact is, if you're doing finance or whatever you're doing, if you're doing it out of like an internal motivation of like, and you have reasons for yourself why you want to do it, with any career path, then I think that's sustainable and that's good.
Yeah.
And any problems that dealt from there, like you can go from there, but at least like it was an internal motivation, you know. I think that's like the big thing. Don't do things out of, I feel like when your options are more like open, like for me, like I'm very careful about not getting into things out of external motivations. Like, oh my gosh, my friend is making 100K out of college right now. Maybe I should do that too. Like, no, that's an external motivation. That's wanting to be like that guy. Just because he's making a lot of money. It's pretty shallow, and that's just not right. But if you're like, oh, like the work he's doing looks really cool, and the money's nice, might as well, then sure. If it's, then go for it. That's how I see it.
I guess like to also like get back to like what I said about like why I wanted to do medicine as well too, is that like the money's nice, and like maybe there were some like external forces that may have like influenced me in that direction, but at least I feel like during my time in college I was able to find a lot of like fulfillment, and like what you said, I was able to find internal motivation. I found a lot of fulfillment in like being able to be in that space with patients, and like being open and vulnerable about certain health problems that they may have, and like kind of just like really just being there with them and being a part of their medical journey, and like really just like literally putting myself into their life, into their story, and like kind of like helping them and guiding them through that, and and just being there with them no matter what it may look like. And I find a lot of fulfillment in that. And sure, like the monetary incentive is nice and whatnot, but then like at least for me, if I was driven solely off of the monetary, at least personally, I would burn out so fast.
Yeah.
And like this is just like kind of like an abridged version of like my like meaningfulness for like why I want to get into medicine. But then it's like that's driving me, and that's what's keeping me going. I think like one question, I guess like to go back into like our main topic, there's actually I think I might have told you this too actually. We both of us are in InterVarsity, and sometimes we have this thing called large group where we basically kind of have our own like worship and like a sermon from like a guest speaker.
It's a communal gathering of everyone.
Of Christians, and we're like both of us are Christians, and we're part of a Christian fellowship. And basically during that time, we always have like an icebreaker in between, and one of the icebreaker was like just talk to someone on the opposite side of like the seating and ask them a question. So during that time, we have a mentor named Yusin, and he basically came up to me and my friend Jolly, and we were both freshmen at that time. And he asked us, Kevin, Jolly, what makes you get up in the morning? What makes you want to get out of bed and wake up and just do whatever you want to do?
That's an interesting
and
one.
Then literally both of us just like, we're like, huh? We're like,
that's an interesting one. What drives me in the morning?
I'm gonna get back to you on that. And I literally couldn't find an answer until I began to just really start processing that question and really asking myself that. And then I think it doesn't have to be like career oriented, it can be. But then like I think that's really a good question to ask yourself sometimes in terms of like what do you want to do in life? And like I hope that like whatever you find like happiness and satisfaction in, you can find a profession in that, like a lot of times, especially in this day and age, everything is very interdisciplinary. You'll be able to find a job that you would like, and hopefully it will give you the financial incentive, and that you'll really be able to excel and flourish.
I agree. But I will also say at the same time, like, honestly, there's nothing wrong with, like, it's really priorities, right? Like, work isn't our life. If at the end of the day, if you're willing to exchange 8 hours a day of your life for a paycheck, and live your life outside of work, then power to you. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And I acknowledge that, especially I feel like, because family is really important to me. I do plan on hopefully having a family, knock on wood, later in life. And I think when that happens, definitely like the work and the value of my work is going to take a back seat over providing for my family and supporting my family,
Yeah.
Like if it's between like doing something really interesting but taking a pay cut, that means I can't sustain my family well, then of course I'm not going to I'm going to prioritize them over like my interesting work. But right now, I think as college students, we're really at a time where we're meant to pursue like our own interests and our own development. And especially before you get married, before you start a family, like in your 20s when you are just starting your career, I feel that's a great time to really dive in and go all in while you can, if that's what you want to do. But I think also recognizing like this is not a necessarily it's just like a all encompassing life like mindset for our whole lives.
Very dynamic.
There will be different priorities and things. But yeah, just my 2 cents.
For sure. Yeah, I think we hope you got something out of this, and we just thank you for your time, and until next time.
Yeah.
Peace.
Adios.